All right, it's time for the Celtics podcast here at CLNS. Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay, along with Jeff Goodman. Bob, we'll start with you now. As the Celtics enter the playoffs, we know they don't have their big guy in Williams. It looks like they could be taking on Brooklyn. This is a major test. You know, the regular season's been great. They've been outstanding. They've been fun. But do you think that – I think we all think they're going to play Brooklyn. If they fail against Brooklyn, what does that do to this team? Does that put into question the success they've had during the regular season?
Well, let's see how it goes. I mean, in terms of the nature of the quality of play on both sides, and you know, they get swept or something. Okay, God, you know, the sky's falling. It's not going to happen. I like that. Look, even without Robert Williams, they have played at a high level against some of these teams. They've done things historically no Celtic team has ever done, whether we're talking about 40-point victory wins, 3 of which they never had a team like that, whether it's a number of 20-point plus wins, even more than anybody but the 07-08 team in the history of the team, which means even better than 85-86, the best team ever in their history. They are still playing, doing everything that they were doing with before Robert Williams got hurt as the same way, but they don't have that extra ingredient, you know, that he brought, and it was a lot of both sides of the ball. Don't forget the offense, the alley-oop possibilities, the finishing things, the second chance points that he could provide. They're going to be a very good are going to be a good playoff team. I just am lowering my expectation. At some point, do I think they can beat the Nets? Yes, I do, assuming it is the Nets. But I'm not as enthusiastic about how far they can go as I was pre Robert Williams. Now, we don't know that we won't see. How many negatives is that? There is a possibility, we're told, we would see him if they get beyond that first round. And now how quickly he would get back to where he was, we'll never know. But I like the way that they soldiered on, you know, after they lost him. That was important to me.
My big question to Bob, Gary, is if you were Bob Ryan, the coach, going into that final game in Memphis, and you knew if you lost that game, you would play the Chicago Bulls, who are not playing well and have not played well and don't have Lonzo Ball, why wouldn't you have just sat everybody like every other team did?
As Milwaukee did, for example?
Yes.
And then they were down by 33 at the half to the Cavaliers.
Like, would you have done that, Bob? I know it's not inherently you or me to go out there and say, hey, let's tank a game, let's lose a game. But, you know, you could have played your –
That decision should be made not by the coach. That should be made by the ownership. They're the ones. If they want to go that route and tell the coach, we're not holding you, you know, you're safe with us, everything's fine. If they want to do that, no, I don't want to do that. My theory always is, if you're not good enough to beat the team that supposedly you're afraid of playing, you don't deserve it anyway.
Right.
No, I think there's integrity here. I'm sorry. I'm going to.
But it says something too. I think it also says something when they get Brooklyn of like, hey, you know what? We're not scared of you. Let's go. Let's go with this.
I don't think they are. Let's be specific. They now have they have a guy on their team that has not only been a top 5-10 player since beginning of February or January. He's been maybe a top 5 player in this league. They got
no surprise.
I mean, Jason Tatum is playing at an extremely high level. It's a fantasy we always had. It's here. He's playing that way. He's calibrated his game in a way that he hadn't done before. He's making appropriate passes. He's going to the basket when he should go to the basket. He's taking a 3. He should take the 3. He's doing all the things, and he's playing defense. He's playing great. He's been a great player. They have that. They've got some really formidable weapons. You know, then Jaylen Brown you talk about a perfect wingman. Oh my God.
Well, if he stays healthy, I mean, look, if Brown and Tatum have played together, the numbers they do well when they're both on the floor. The numbers back it up. It's just Brown.
I don't think they did. I don't think they again, I will push back on that too and say, like, when they played together, I don't think there was a lot of synergy there. I think when one put up numbers, the other didn't have a great game for the most part the last couple of years until the last couple months. And then it all
changed. Now they have multiple 30-point games.
No doubt. I don't know what changed. We've tried to figure it out, right? Was it Ime?
Well, we
Was
got.
it?
I mean, Jeff, I know what it is. You get. This is where I'm gonna back the coach. I mean, we crush the coach constantly. Like you're right, Jeff. We don't know, but we killed the coaches constantly. Like, so it's got to be the coach. I mean,
I do think. Listen, it's funny because now it's almost like, and I love Brad Stevens. Nobody loves Brad Stevens more as a human being than me.
Well,
but is this on Brad Stevens to some degree that he was? It's pretty much the same team. I mean, the same core guys. And maybe it was just time for a new voice, or maybe again the buttons that Brad pushed weren't the same. And I think that was it. Their personalities are completely different. Brad is the good guy, right? He's the good guy all the time. Ime is not the good guy all the time. He is going to get after them. And when they went into the tank and they were 20, whatever it was, 5-25, I think that's when Ime was like, all right, now I got your attention. What are you going to do now if I jump your asses?
Well, I think I have an answer to that. And again, this is just an educated guess by me. And I'll ask Bob to respond to this. Brad, as a coach, made it clear that he was a basketball coach. He wasn't your friend. I don't think he was necessarily a mentor. He did not get involved in the personal lives of the players. I don't know if Ime is doing that, but I always felt that was kind of, I mean, I always thought that was kind of a negative for Brad. I mean, hell, that's all Phil Jackson did. I mean, Phil Jackson didn't, the triangle offense wasn't his, right? All Phil Jackson did, Bob, or all Red Auerbach did was mentally get in the heads of the players. And they established an environment in which the players could thrive. I mean, they were head coaches, meaning head coaches, right? Brad wasn't that guy. And I think Ime is, Bob. I think that's the difference, that Ime is able to get into their psyche and get to know these players as people. And that was not Brad's thing.
I never thought of it exactly in those terms.
That's my observation.
I'm going to leave you with that. I'll just have to think that over, quite frankly. You know, I'm just going to go back and just in terms of Ime, which I pointed out many times here and elsewhere, is that, and I say, I always like to say, be judicious with the use of the words always and never, but I never, ever, since 1969 covering this league, encountered such a situation in which a rookie coach was coming in with such praise from all over the league, outside sources, not being praised by the Celtic people who hired him, but everybody else. Oh my God, he's the next great thing coming. Everybody was singing the praises of Ime Udoka. And now if you go back to January 1st, we're saying, what do they see? What's going on here? And obviously they're now buying what he's selling, and he's presented himself in a way that they're with complete credibility, and to make all those people praising him, look good. And it looks like it was a tremendous hire, but something clicked. Everything is falling, and individually, everybody is playing the way he can and should.
Don't you get tired of being called out at some point and start to finally look in the mirror and believe, like, instead of which I think is easy for young players to do these days, right? When it starts, like, well, I know more than them, right? I know more than the fans or the media or whoever. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. And then eventually you get to a point where you're like, all right, maybe I need to look in them. And maybe it was Ime with everybody else. Like it's Hubert Davis going up to me at the Final Four and saying to me, you were right when you called us soft in November. And he said, I could say it to my team all I wanted, but they weren't believing me. We needed other people from the outside to say how soft we were, so that our players, and they're younger even, obviously. So, to me, you would think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and some of these guys, Marcus Smart, would understand it and buy into it a little bit sooner than they did. But I think it's part that too. I think it's part that finally they started to look in the mirror and say, you know what? Yeah, we got to change, or else we have been a five. The numbers were the numbers. They were a 500 team for 2 years.
Yep. And Smart is an interesting case because he was the guy calling out the other two, and yet he's the one that has radically altered his game more than anybody. And that, he's now acting as doing the thing I swore that he could not do, which is be a true point guard. Yep. And, and I'll say it once again, you can't say it enough. if someone told you January 1st that he would have a game in the second half of the year in which he would take 3 shots and have 13 assists, you dismiss that as complete, as complete fantasy.
Give Ime credit too. Give Ime credit. Whatever happened there, I'm giving Ime a ton of credit for figuring out Marcus Smart, because Brad Stevens let the dude shoot 10 threes every single game. Bob and I joked with Brad about that a couple of years ago. And I just thought it was you can reward somebody for playing defense, but don't reward a 25% 3-point shooter for being able to jack 10 threes a game. Right. It makes no sense. It's not logical.
You can't reward somebody at the expense of the success of your team. I think that Ime he should be, I think he's the coach of the year candidate. And I think that he's established a culture. To me, Robert Williams being out, the Celtics, I don't think are going to win it this year. Next year, I don't know.
Just be in the equation. Just be in the equation to go back to the Eastern Conference Finals if you're the Celtics next year. Right. And Brad Stevens, to me, Ime has done everything he has needed to do. Now, if you're Brad Stevens, give him a shooter. Give him a shooter.
I think so. All right, guys. Well, always a pleasure. Bob, I look forward to your thoughts on episode 3 of Winning Time. Oh, God.
There might be no episode 3 for Robert.
No, I gotta know, because I haven't.
Well, you just gotta continue to get pissed.
I have to brace myself with a portrayal of Larry. I know that. I've been told.
Hey, Bob, have a few drinks before you watch episode.
Oh yeah, it'll be a nice healthy cab, I think, will do. So.
My critique of it is Michael Chiklis says Red Auerbach, his hair is way too long. He's got hair in the back. I go, Red never had long hair like that. All right, guys, talk to you next week.